All right, let's talk about shortstop. There's been a lot of talk on Twitter about J.P. Crawford, about the future of the shortstop position. Now, J.P. Crawford wasn't bad last year. He's a good defensive shortstop. And I don't want to get too deep on Crawford right now because it's so early in the year. But it is concerning that, not that he's struggled for 9 or 10 games out of the gate, but that he's not doing anything different and apparently just hoping for better results. Alex, that's what is insanity for 1,000. We like to point to last year's 255 average and 336 OBP as acceptable, and I truly believe it would be. The problem with last year is that he only actually hit well for about a month's worth of games. Really, if that. I mean, I'm not picking out like, hey, in this number of games, he hit well. I'm looking, you have to be consistent. You have to put together stretches. So when you break down his season, Crawford hit 293, 398, 360 from opening day last year until August 14th. That is 20 games, which is a third of the season. And then he batted 233 with a 299 OBP over the final 33 games that he played. He played 53 games. He hit 173, 261, 279 from August 15 to September 21, and then he finished 12 for 25 with one extra base hit over the final 6 games to finish on somewhat of a positive note. But there aren't any signs yet that Crawford can hit 255, 336 or anything close, really, over a legitimately lengthy stretch, a meaningful stretch that tells us he can do that for 140 games in a major league season. And I also think that there's some bad info out there, I think, on J.P. Crawford's defense. And I think this is what Gold Gloves and things like that tend to do. He is a good defensive shortstop. There is no question about that. But over his entire time with Seattle, 2019 through right now, he's at 0 defensive runs saved. Yeah, he had 6 last year. Who was his first baseman last year? Who was his first baseman in 2019? I'm not saying Evan White is responsible for all 6 defensive runs saved, but do you think that number is 0? Because I guarantee you it is not. Crawford, also in that time frame, 2019 through right now, is 16th in defensive runs above average. And if you like UZR at all, he's 23rd in UZR per 150 games over that span. That is not a special defensive shortstop. That is just a good defensive shortstop. You need him to hit. He has to hit. Crawford's defense absolutely does not make up for like a 220, 300, 350 bat. It does not. And you know what? There's not a shortstop in baseball that does that right now. Maybe we can make an argument that at some point in his prime, when he was healthy and playing full seasons, Andrelton Simmons' best defense probably did because it was ridiculous. But Crawford's not Andrelton Simmons defensively. And I think that because of the Gold Glove and the Fielding Bible, and when you attach awards to players' names, it gives the idea that he's just elite. Well, first of all, that's on a curve. How did guys perform last year? Who was hurt? Who wasn't? What happened in the 60 games? What happened in the 162 games? Guys can perform above their general ability, their repeatable ability at times. And I'm not saying Crawford necessarily did that. But what I'm saying is, do we really know that he's a 6 DRS guy over a 53-game span? If all things are being equal, we don't know that. We definitely don't know that. And if you're assuming that he is, you're probably going to lose that bet. And we're probably going to find that out this year. Even though he's going to have Evan White, we're going to see in some of those defensive metrics and with our own eyes some of the, I don't want to call them deficiencies because there aren't deficiencies, but we're going to call them limits, relative limits. He's not elite defensively. He's just not. He's not going to make up for well below average batting averages, well below average on base percentages, and absolutely 0 power. You can't slug 350 in Major League Baseball unless you're getting on base a lot. And 336 isn't great, but it is above average. So if he's going to go 255, 336 with basically no power and play the defense he played last year, okay, fine. But we don't have a whole lot of evidence that he's going to do any of that. We have 53 games and some very spotty, evidence within that. really hot for 20 days, for 20 games, for 3 weeks, and then basically terrible for the majority of the season. So, and I get it. It all counts. And if he was to hit 200 the first half of a major league season and 350 the second half of a major league season, he would hit around 250. I totally get that. But we're looking for evidence that J.P. Crawford can hit enough to support being a regular player. There's not much evidence of that at all. In fact, there's zero evidence of that at all because you want consistency, and we haven't seen it. We haven't even seen the 255, 336 over a lengthy period of time. He played 53 games. 53 games? You remember where Daniel Vogelbach was through about May or early June a couple of years back, and then where he ended, just to use as an extreme example? Well, Crawford did that in a 60-game season last year. He was good for 20 games, and he was terrible for 33. So the question really here is, what might shortstop look like if and when the Mariners move on from J.P. Crawford?